California, Ms. Porter.
Thank you very much. In recent years, California has seen some of the biggest wildfires in state history. Fortunately, we have some of the best wildland firefighters in the world at CAL FIRE, the U.S. Forest Service, and the Department of Interior. We owe our wildland firefighters a debt of gratitude. They put their lives on the line to keep our communities safe. But the lack of support that they're given has left agencies scrambling to find and retain workers, all without the benefits and financial support that they need. I've continuously sounded this alarm in hearings, in interviews, in press conferences, through the support of legislation, including my co-leadership of Tim's Act, that Congress needs to do its part to give our firefighters what they need. Ms. Hall-Rivera, can you name a few barriers to the recruitment and retention of wildland firefighters?
Yes, thank you for that, Congressman, and thank you for your work on behalf of our wildland firefighters. I would say our biggest barriers to recruiting and retaining firefighters has been lack of pay parity, or essentially the low pay that they receive for doing this grueling and hazardous work. The bill supplement has been helpful. It's a bridge, but what we need is to permanently enact a pay increase so that we can give certainty not only to our current wildland firefighters, but those that we are trying to attract into this profession, that they can make a living wage and support their families doing this work.
I really appreciate that strong answer. You would agree that the pay bump that you mentioned under the bipartisan infrastructure law has been helpful in maintaining, retaining our firefighters?
Yes, Congressman, I would agree, and I have heard that directly from firefighters, that it has been helpful, but once again, we need a permanent solution.
When does that funding expected to expire?
For the Forest Service, we are expected to spend all of that money by the end of this fiscal year, September 2023.
So September 2023, and of course we don't have a wildfire season. We have year-round wildfires. We heard about firefighters and fires, terrible fires, Marshall Fire and others that are in the fall and into the winter. So we are inching closer to a pay cliff. And so we need to permanently raise wildland firefighter base pay if we're going to maintain this consistent workforce. You mentioned in your testimony, Ms. Hall-Rivera, that Congress will need to pass special legislation that supports a special base rate salary table and incident standby pay for all responders. If Congress fails to do that and address this inadequate pay situation, what's going to happen at the end of fiscal year 2023 in September?
Well, Congresswoman, what I'm very concerned about is that we will lose our firefighters. They will leave for other higher paying jobs. We're hearing from our union even now that 30 to 50% of our firefighters in the Forest Service could leave if we go over that pay cliff. And that would certainly be of great concern to all of us and all of you, I know, who depend on these firefighters to help protect communities in your state and do the critical forest management work that we need as well.
And as we've seen in the last several budget years, if we have a continuing resolution, federal employees cannot receive a raise in base pay across the board during a continuing resolution. So it's urgent that we address this. As you know, we're about to default if we don't pass legislation to address our current debt limit, and we are only now beginning to mark up appropriations packages that Republicans have said will cut domestic funding. Can you please tell this committee why Congress should not let politics get in the way of stabilizing the wildland firefighter workforce?
Well, Congressman, I think we can all agree that it's critical that we continue to pay our firefighters and pay them what they are worth, and that's not a partisan issue.
And how many Forest Service firefighters are currently hired for this year?
We have a little over 9,000 firefighters on board right now.
And how many do you need?
We aspire to have 11,300 firefighters. That's not what we need. We need more than that, and that's why the 24 budget requests funding for an additional 970 firefighters.
How long is it going to take you to get from the 9,000 you have as of today to the 11,300, which is the maximum that you can support under the funding that you have?
If we meet that goal, which we are, I would say, cautiously optimistic we'll get to, that time of year is usually late June or early July when we have all of our firefighters on board.
Can we count on there not being a fire until late June or early July?
Absolutely not, Congresswoman. That's why we have the 9,000 that we have on board now. We also depend on other employees in the Forest Service who are red carded or who have fire qualifications.
Thank you. Last thing I want to flag in my remaining time is you all have you mentioned these numbers are available on your website.
Yes.
And I was able to eventually find them. But the link, www.forestservice.fed.us/wildlandfire doesn't work.
Okay, we'll get that fixed, Congresswoman.
So thank you. I yield back.
Gentlewoman yields.